give you a little background on myself. I was born and raised in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and graduated from high school, quickly went on a jackhammer, worked my way into wiring houses while playing rugby for the UBC Old Boys. And then I also did a short stint. I did 2 seasons on a commercial freezer trawler. Did a couple seasons on a commercial diving boat. So wrapped that up with construction, playing rugby. I had some pretty interesting early years. Worked for 2 large electrical contractors up in Vancouver that mainly did high-rise. It's a huge industry up there, especially electrically. And that led me to San Diego in 2000. Came down here to build high-rises again. One of the largest developers was a Canadian outfit. And did that for 7 years. And then in 2007 had my shot at going on my own. And my first job was 36-story high-rises just on the bay around the corner here. And the idea was that was all I was going to do, was high-rises forever. The guy I was working for had 7 more city blocks and told me he was going to make me a rich man. And I was pretty happy. And strapped on my tools with my best friend, and we were in the bottom of the hole and worked our way out. So here I am 4 years later, have 50 employees, and I think 2009 was obviously an impact year for just about everybody, but it was huge for me because the high-rise was done, and I had to decide on what am I going to do with this company, and I don't have what I know to go to. So we looked into a couple of different things. I got into building automation, fire alarm security, did a lot of work for Siemens, got into some infrastructure work with AT&T, hard bid, got some schools, did some stuff at the universities. Absolutely no money in that. So it was quite a struggle. And then we looked at solar. So initially the idea was, California, lots of houses, we'll get into residential solar. Took a small stab at that and just very quickly realized that was not going to be for us. I think the biggest realization was just actually personally standing on a roof and looking around going, wow, how are we going to make money at this? We're all about moving fast in order to make money. You've got to be careful so you don't fall off a roof. And then the other thing is drilling through somebody's roof, the liability there. And then the third thing was trying to collect money from homeowners. All the money is in the panels, and once they arrive, they're on their property. So that was it. I dropped that avenue altogether. And then a good friend of mine worked for a large general contractor, gave me a call and said, hey, I think I got something for you. And what it was an 850 kilowatt canopy job at Cal Poly Pomona. And we bid it, we got it. The only experience we had was put some panels on some houses, and up we went. And we actually did pretty well with it. And it was working for a fairly large solar firm. It was a PPA. And once we got out of that, we ended up working ourselves into another one, which was 2.3 megawatts. And this one was design build. And of course, we'd only done one, but with solar, it doesn't take very long to make you an expert, especially when you're looking at 3,000 panels or 4,500 or 8,000. It's very repetitious, so you can figure things out fairly quickly. So we landed the 2.3 megawatts design build up in Huntington Beach. And then as well with that same group, we landed another megawatt at Otay Mesa, design build again. And then, in those processes, we picked up a megawatt at Twin Oaks, which is a water treatment plant. And this was different. This wasn't canopy, where all the other stuff I was looking at was all canopy jobs, which or parking canopies. They just they erect steel structure, and the panels go on the steel structure, and the cars park underneath. So this was like a ground mount on top of water tanks, and a little bit different. Was a little bit scared, Didn't really know exactly how to estimate it. Took a chance. They actually tried to quasi-convince me to do it, and I sort of did. I'm glad I did now. On our first try at this Sunlink system, they told us that it was the fastest install they had ever seen in 4 to 5 years, and that was our first chance at it. So we're going to do quite well on the job, and we're now looking at almost as much as we can pick up. In probably about the last 3 weeks, between the two different guys I'm dealing with, one's got a 6 megawatt to bid, a 4 megawatt, a 2 megawatt. I've got another megawatt that I think they're just going to give to me. They've offered me another 2 megawatts upstate, and basically just said, if you'll do it, it's yours. So it's kind of interesting. It's turned into a very big business for me. One of the other interesting parts about it too is when I first looked at that and had talked to some other people and found out how they were doing it, a lot of them were pretty negative, that they thought that a lot of the costs were driven out of the jobs already, because these are PPAs. So the fellows that have put together the deal have got all the panels, have got all the inverters and the AC switchgear. But what I'm finding is like, say with one of my megawatts, and we use a rough number of say $800,000, which I'll grind through in 2 months, I'll be done in and out. It's relatively 50-50 for me as far as my labor and as to my material. So that's actually a pretty good deal from where I'm sitting. I mean, always you want to have some more material to offset what your risk on the labor is, but this thing is strictly driven by how fast we can move and how fast we can install. It's all about speed. One of the neat things about doing high-rise is how you make money. It's pretty simple. If you have a 15-story high-rise, you're probably not going to make any money on it. The first 5 stories, you figure out what you're doing, everybody else is doing the same thing, and you actually lose money on the first 5 stories. The next 5 stories, you actually get going and figure out what you're doing, and you do what you're supposed to do. The next 5 stories after that, now you're rolling, you're making some money, but all you do is you basically pick up what you just blew in the first 5 stories. So what you're looking for is the big ones. So the 30s, the 40s, quite a few. We did 13 down here, and that's where we made our money, is basically 30 stories and up. Well, solar is a lot like that. It's 4,000, 8,000 panels. So if you can get things figured out in your first 500, your first 1,000, you can probably do all right with that. One of the things, maybe for distributors, how they can help me out. One of the things I'm running into is whatever I need a lot of it, and I need it fast. And that has been sort of one of the biggest hurdles. Where of course always, we're looking for price, a lot of times we're going to whoever's got it and how quick I can get it. That seems to be a real reoccurrence in a lot of things that we're looking at. I get approached a lot by distributors and people saying, well, hey, you're in solar, I want to sell you solar panels and inverters. Well, that's not what I'm into. We're just literally a hired gun. We'll go in and we'll put panels together. So in a couple of the design build jobs, we actually do have the opportunity to go in and look at the AC switchgear, buy the combiners, but in most cases all that stuff is already purchased, and I'm just strictly installing it. With the design build stuff, one of the other things too is I do a lot of budgeting. I mean, I get phone calls and they'll say, how much will this take? How much will that take? There's a couple guys I can rely on that are good on gear, where I can get quick answers. They don't have to go and talk to somebody else, and they can give me budget numbers on switchgear on the fly. That's a big help indeed. And another thing is because this is actually fairly new for us too, but from a distributor side, Probably one of the smartest things a distributor could do is come and see me and say, like, on one of the jobs I just completed, what did you buy? And go through and take a look at my entire material list and see what I struggled with, see what I needed, see what I was held up with. Because I had trouble. We used multiple guys at times to just find the sheer amount of what we needed, because it was 4,500 panels or 3,000 panels. So, but that's what I have to offer. Thanks very much for having me.